Have you ever been so scared to take a leap of faith that you almost let fear hold you back from something amazing? For me, that moment came on the day that I got fired. What started as one of the worst days of my life turned out to be the biggest blessing. So let me tell you the story of how getting fired led to freedom. And if you stay until the end, I'll share with you the five biggest mistakes that I made and how you can avoid them, right? So it doesn't have to happen to you. Hello, bold, brave, and brilliant Black women. Thank you so much for tuning into our channel. This channel is for you if you are someone who is working on a job that's no longer fulfilling you. Maybe you're feeling undervalued, overworked, underpaid, maybe, or just unfulfilled in what you're doing. This is for you if you know deep inside that there's something telling you that you're meant for more. This video is also for you if you're afraid to leave the security of a job or what seems to be the safety and stability of a job. Um, the story that I'm about to share with you that I frankly, avoided sharing with anybody for a long time outside of my family um, because I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed of it. I had tied my identity to the work. So to get fired was one of my greatest fears. And when it happened, I really was embarrassed by that. So I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to find another job. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to make the same salary. My salary was pretty decent, right? It wasn't a ton of money, but it was pretty good money. It was the most I had ever made in my life and more than what my family had my parents had ever made. I was afraid that I'd have to tell a new employer or someone interviewing me that I was let go from a job. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. And because of that, and I would, um, you know, put myself in a position, and I did this, I put myself in a position where I had a boss who disrespected and belittled me until he ultimately fired me. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to get into that and stay to the end. And I want to tell you, what, were the mistakes that I made and what were the learnings? Like, what did I take away from that really became a blessing for me? Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Durant. I'm the founder of the Be Brilliant movement, where I serve amazing, incredible, brilliant women, helping them build their brands from the inside out so they show up powerfully both in business and in life. And I am on a mission to lead 10,000 Black women to freedom. Now, what might that look like? Well, it's different for all of us, right? For you, it might be financial freedom, right? You may be looking to be financially free. For somebody else, they may be financially stable. They feel like they have their financial freedom, but they don't have time, right? You don't have time to spend with your family. And so that's what you're looking for. Or maybe it's freedom of choice, right? You just want to know that you have choices, right? If you want to stay at your job because you think it's okay, then you can stay and you can still generate revenue on the side, right? But you can choose for yourself. If you want to work from home and the current job is saying, okay, effective January 1, you need to come back into the office and you don't want to, that you have a choice, right? That choice is yours. And so that's what I'm on a journey to help you with. So let's go ahead and jump in. So let's go in. I want to share with you my story. So this was several years ago. I was working for a company for 15 years. I know I always thought of myself as a dinosaur because most people who worked at companies did not stay that long. They stayed like 18 months, 2 years, and then they were on to the next. But I stayed with a company almost 15 years and I just kept getting promoted. And so they had asked me if I would relocate to a new state and location to help another hotel. And they courted me. I eventually said, okay, I will come. I came and I worked there and everything was good. For a long time, it was good. Built an amazing team. Had an opportunity to work with some incredible people. And then I got a boss. And the boss, we're going to call him Ike because we're going to protect his identity, but we'll call him Ike. And then I got a boss. And I don't know if any of you have ever worked for a difficult boss, but it was a difficult boss. And so if you've ever worked for a difficult boss, put a comment in the chat and let me know. Just so that I know I'm not alone. It's not just me, right? But I got a boss, and I felt like at every turn, he was pushing me, or he had his foot on my neck. I remember him coming to our hotel property for a visit. I was the hotel general manager at the time. And we were walking the property. He's like, let's walk the property. I was like, okay. So we're walking the property, and I've got my legal pad with me to take notes of whatever he would say. And we were walking, I was walking behind him. He's a tall, thin, middle-aged white guy, salt and pepper hair. And I'm walking behind him, and he's taking, these big strides. And I'm only 5'2.5", so I'm taking my little steps. And he's like, this needs to change over here, and that needs to be different, and you need to move that, and this needs to come down, and this needs to change. And I was taking notes the whole time. I had a full list by the time we were done of everything that he wanted changed, right? And the hotel was in great shape. We had just won an award for cleanliness, being one of the top hotels, be one of the cleanest hotels in the system. We got 96, 97% cleanliness. So that's like you have a white glove on, you swipe it and nothing comes back, right? It's just fantastic. And I had a phenomenal team. And so, but I was still open. I was open to changes that might need to be made. Like, how can we be better, right? And then one day, I started feeling like there was a lot of tension and pressure. But in my mind, I kept saying, okay, maybe he's here. Maybe this is God's way of strengthening me, of sharpening my saw, of making me even better. And one day we were sitting in the office with my team, and I asked him, he said, I want you to change your competitive set. I want you to add this new hotel as one of your competitors. And I asked him in front of my team, I said to him, well, help me understand why you want us to do that when it's not a true competitor. And I honestly was asking because I wanted to know, I wanted to learn from him. He had been in business longer than I had. And that's always been the culture of the company. Like, you can ask questions, right? And I'll never forget it. He leaned over to me. He looked me in my face with my team there. All the department heads that reported to me were in my office at the time. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to make the change because I said so. That's why. And I think I chuckled. Like, I was taken aback by that. Like, I had never had anybody talk to me that way. And it frankly stunned me that he would speak to me in that manner. And then as the meeting ended, he got up, he opened the door to my office, and he let all of my team members leave out the door. He closed the door, he sat back down, and he leaned over to me. And he said to me, it's no secret that you and me, we don't like each other. And I didn't even know how to respond to that. It was in that moment that I realized that he didn't like me. The thought that he didn't like me never crossed my mind. I just thought, he's tough, he's difficult, but I'm somebody who can work for anybody. I can be the leader and I can be a follower if I need to be. But the thought that he didn't like me and that a boss would say that to me had never crossed my mind. Now, I'll tell you, when he came back right before that, the first time he was here, we did that property visit. And when he came back 2 weeks later, because as soon as he left from the property visit, I got all of my team members together, like, come on, let's go into the office, let's sit into the conference room, let's go through this list, let's divvy up who's going to do what, so that when he comes back, this place is going to shine. It's going to be even better, right? Everything that he's given us for this list is going to be taken care of. And so when he came back, and the team was like, bet, Ange, we're in, we got this, right? And so when he came back, we were excited. We couldn't wait for him to come back. Everybody had their name tags, like shine. They were dressed to the nines. Everybody was on their posts. They were just ready for him. And as we did the property walk again for the second time, it was just he and I, and I said, oh, look over here, Ike. This was on the list and we've made this change. He goes, okay, yeah, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. And I was like, and over here, we took care of that. We moved that over there. He's like, that's nice. That's nice. But what about this? Now that wasn't on the list. And what about this over here? Yeah, yeah. And what about this over here? Right. Now, this is an outstanding property. It's one of the top properties in the whole system. But all of a sudden, we have all these issues, right? And I just got quiet. And he said to me, because it felt like a moving target, right? It really started to feel unfair. And he said to me, well, it's not like I'm trying to find anything. It's not like I'm like deliberately looking for things. And I was like, right, right. So then fast forward, we're sitting in the office and he tells me it's no secret that he and we don't like each other, which was a secret to me. And then he went to really humiliate me. He talked about how I wasn't good at my job. I wasn't a good leader. I wasn't a good manager. And sometimes you have to, I'm a pretty sensitive person, but sometimes you have to look for evidence in your life to know that those things are not true about you. And so all I had to do is look around my office because there were, Hotel of the Year awards on plaques on the wall and general manager nominated for general managers of the year and top line hotels and revenue and cleanest hotel in the system, right? So I knew that what he was feeling about who he thought I was really had nothing to do with me, but it still hurt. And so I got up and I walked out of my office and left him there. And then, of course, I went for a ride and cried, right? And called my mom because I always would call her. And then I returned back to work. I returned back to work. I rolled my sleeves up and I tried to continue to do the job. And I remember it was just a few days after that I would be riding out to work with my husband. And we're riding to work, and all of a sudden, I burst into tears. And he pulls the car over. He's like, "What's the matter? What's wrong? Why are you crying?" And I said, "I'm not happy anymore. I'm not happy here." And for a long time, I loved hospitality. Like, I would just love the job. I didn't even know that was work. I was like, I can't believe we get paid to do this. This is amazing. And I said, "I'm not happy anymore." And I used to always say, when the time comes and I'm no longer happy, then I'll move on. That's what I said. So my husband said, you don't need to go in. Like we can just, you don't have to go in. And we were carpooling, so he still had to go to work. And I said, no, I have to go in because I've got meetings with clients. I have meetings with my team members and they're expecting me. So I can't not go. So I clean off my face and I go into work, right? And it was just a few days later that I want to say it was like a Thursday or a Friday that I received I came back to my office and there was a voicemail message there from a headhunter. And the headhunter said, "We're looking for somebody with your set of skills," right? Because I got a special set of skills, right? Just like on that movie Taken, right? I got some special skills, right? And you have some special skills too. And so the voicemail basically said, "I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter, and I am looking for someone with your talent. Someone referred you. And we have a hotel that's in distress in Princeton, New Jersey, and we'd like to interview you for that position." Right. And now Princeton, New Jersey was where I started my career. So I knew the hotel they were talking about. I knew the market very well. I had relationships with clients, with big pharmaceutical companies out in that market. And so I was like, okay, but I didn't call them back. And a day or two went by. I remember it was over the weekend when I told my husband, "Oh, by the way, a recruiter called me about a job in Princeton." And he's like, "Did you call them back?" And I was like, "No, because that would be, disloyal. Like I've been with this company almost 15 years. I don't respond to headhunters. I don't respond to." And he's like, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy that you're not calling them back?" He said, "You were on the side of the road crying, right? Like you're not happy. At least see what they have to offer. At least hear them out." And so I was like, okay. I said, "But they're going to ask me for a resume. And I've worked for this company for 15 years. I don't even have a resume. Like I don't even, I haven't had a resume in so many years." Right. And he's like, "Okay, give me the dates where you worked in whatever positions and I'll write your resume." And he was like, "You just go rest and lay down." And I did. And when I woke up the next morning, the resume was done and it was pristine. Like it was perfect. He did an excellent job. And so I submitted the resume. I sent it in. I followed up with the recruiter. They said, send us your resume. Like, that was the first thing. Send us your resume. I sent it over, and references. Sent them over. And because I put references on there, I started calling my references and leaving them messages like, hey, somebody may call you. If they call you, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be interviewing for this job. Well, within 5 minutes, one of my references called me and said, good thing you called and left me a message, because they called me right away, right? They called me right away, and I talked to them and told them about you. I was like, excellent. So then I think maybe that was like on a Thursday or Friday. That Saturday, I was I was about to go to a conference, an annual conference for directors of sales and for general managers. One of the biggest conferences that we would have all year. And I was going to get my nails and all done. And I had a call, an interview, a phone interview with a gentleman by the name of Sean. And Sean was a senior vice president for Marriott. Of course, one of the biggest brands in the country, in the world now. And we got on the call. I was sitting in my car taking the call, and all went well. He was telling me about the challenges that they had, telling me that they needed somebody with my skills to turn it around, that he was afraid that this hotel was going to lose its flag, meaning that it would no longer be branded Marriott because it wasn't upholding the standards that Marriott, calls them to uphold. And so I said, okay. So all went well. And he said, I would really like to have you for a second interview. And he said, and I said, okay. I said, I'm open to that. He said, okay. He said, and then I said to him before we hung up, I said, I noticed this is a 214 area code. Where is this? And he said, oh, I'm in Dallas. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. I'm going to Dallas tomorrow for a conference. And he goes, well, where are you staying? And I said, I'm going to be staying at the Gaylord Hotel. And he goes, the Gaylord? He goes, I'm like 15, 20 minutes away from there. He goes, why don't you get registered and then call me, let me know when you're free, and I'll come pick you up, take you to Starbucks, and we'll do our second interview there. So I was like, okay, great. So we went to the conference, went to Texas, and ended up registering. And then I called Sean. He came and picked me up, like he said. We went to Starbucks, and I told him to bring his numbers. Like, let me see what that hotel is really looking like. It's from a service, from a cleanliness, from, its overall performance within the brand, how it was doing. And he did. And so we talked, and it was a great second interview. Everything went really well. And I said to him, this hotel that you want me to go and turn around is really in distress. Like, of all the hotels at the time, maybe there were, of that brand, maybe there was 388 hotels under that particular brand. And when I was looking at the paperwork that he brought me, the documents, the numbers, I went through all the hotels, and this one was like second from the bottom. It was like second from the bottom. So they really needed help. But the interview went well. And when I left, I went back to the conference, and I started to think, this might be a great opportunity for me. This may be the last time I see these colleagues here that I've spent many years with, as I was with that company and loyal to that one company for almost 15 years. But then as the days went by, that was a Sunday, I was leaving on a Wednesday to head back. And I said to myself, can I really leave? What if I did leave? I was saying to myself, what if I leave and I find that I'm not as good as I think I am? I'm good here. I'm getting awards here in this environment for this company, but I've never worked for another company. I was a youngin' when I first started working for this company. It was like my first real job. This is all I really know. So I was able to perform at a high level here. I became a regional trainer. Like, they tapped me to do a lot of things for that company. I had a bunch of transferable skills, right? But I was asking myself, because of my mindset, I said to myself, can I do it? What if I leave here and I fail? Or what if, even worse, nobody hires me? Nobody wants to hire me for a job. And what if they won't pay me the money that I'm used to making here, right? These are the questions I was asking myself as I was boarding the plane to come home. And then I made a decision, because, girls got to make a decision, right? And I said to myself, if Sean from the biggest hotel company in the world offers me that position, I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn it down because at least I know this. Even though I might be not be 100% happy here, maybe I just need to roll up my sleeves and work harder. Maybe I need to, mend fences with this guy who does not like me and work harder. Maybe I need to go all in, maybe do even more than I'm doing, right? I was already working crazy hours. So, being a hotel general manager, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day job. But I said, yep, decision is made. I'm not leaving. That's my decision. I'm staying. So I go home Wednesday night, go home, go back to work on Thursday. And Thursday morning, I'm in my office. I'm looking at the clock. That's what I remember. And I get a phone call. It's about 5-10 minutes after 11 in the morning. I get a phone call and I'm like, hello. And it is Ike, who was my immediate boss, and his boss, Mike. So we call them Mike and Ike, right? And they say to me, like, hi, Angela. We just landed in Philadelphia International Airport and we're heading to your hotel. Now, I just saw them in Dallas, and neither one of them lived in the Pennsylvania area near Philadelphia at all. So why would they be coming to see me? And so I said, are you specifically coming to see me? And they said, yes. And they said, and we'd like you to reserve a conference room where we can meet privately. And I said, okay. So I hung up and I immediately was like, oh my God, they're going to fire me. They're going to fire me. Right. I called my mom and I was like, they're going to fire me. They're coming. They're going to fire me. She's like, calm down, take a breather. And let's pray about it. And we did. She prayed for me and she prayed for me. And it was like, 5 minutes and they were there, right? They came in, they marched me into the conference room, sat me down. And Ike said, effective the end of the day, he said, the company is moving in a different direction. And effective the end of the day, you will no longer be employed here. And my response was, well, can I think about it? And he said, there's nothing to think about it. The decision has already been made. You will no longer be employed here. And then I said, well, can I at least say goodbye to my team? They're an amazing group of people and we work so well together. Can I at least say goodbye to them? And what he said to me was, what you can do is you can go pack your things up in your office, but we'll be here throughout the day and we will speak to your team members. We'll be talking to all of the hotel employees here. And so I didn't cry I didn't cry there. And I'm a sensitive girl. I didn't cry there, but I got up, I left the room. And let me just say, like, there were no write-ups in my file. There was no pink slips. There was nothing. But when you work in a corporate job, there's this thing called at will. And at will means that a company can let you go for any reason or no reason at all, right? You can leave for any reason and they can let you go for any reason. And so I went back to my office. I closed the doors. I closed the blinds. And I just cried. I cried because that company was all I knew for 15 years. I was so tied into, being proud of being a hotel general manager and proud of the work that I was doing. And I cried. And it was maybe 10 minutes of crying. And the phone rang. And you want to take a wild guess of who it was? Well, it was Sean. And it went a little like this, wiping my tears away. And I'm like, hi, this is Angela. And he's like, hi, Angela. So nice to talk to you. He said, hey, I'm in your neck of the woods today. I would love to come by and see the hotel that you're running. Are you going to be there till the end of the day? And I said, yeah, I'm going to be here till the end of the day. I'll be here till the end of the day. And he was like, okay, great. He's like, okay, great. I just want to make sure my internet is still good here. I think we're okay. And then I hung up and I was like, OMG. What did I just do? Like, I just got fired. Technically, I don't even work here anymore. And a senior vice president, regional vice president of one of the largest hotel companies in the world is on his way to see me, right? So I was like, what do I do? So what I did was I text my team and I said, hey, a gentleman from Marriott International is coming to see me. If he gets here before I get back, I'm going to step out and have lunch. If he gets here before I get back, please put him in another private conference room and tell him that I'll meet him there. And they're like, no problem, Ange. We got your back. We got you. No worries, no worries. And then I left and I tried to buy as much time as I could. And of course, you can't eat when your stomach is in knots. Most people can't. And so the same for me. I was just so hurt and so upset about it. But I was buying my time. I stayed out for a couple hours and then I came back, but Sean hadn't returned yet. And Mike and Ike were still having meetings with the staff. And then I got another call and it was like, Sean. And Sean is like, hey, Angela, I'm pulling into your parking lot. So I'll be in just a few minutes. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. So just then I heard, these wingtips walking across the lobby floor. And that was Mike and Ike. And they were saying goodbye to the front office team. And then they popped into my office. And Mike said to me, I wish you all the best. And Ike said to me, and I'll never forget this. He said, you'll be lucky if you find, what did he say? He said, if you find another job before your severance runs out, is what he said. And I felt like it was kind of a kick in the teeth, but I really didn't have time to process what he was saying to me, because all I could think of was that Sean was on his way in, right? So all I was thinking was, okay. And they both, when I tell you the electronic doors to the hotel opened, Mike and Ike walked out and in walked Sean. And if I heard him at the front desk and the front desk was like, yeah, she's here. Hang on a second. And they escorted him into my office. He came in, I offered him a seat and some coffee. And he said to me, wow, your office is so clean. This place looks so great. And I said to myself, little does he know, like all the things, the plaques that adorn the walls, my photos, everything was in the trunk of my car, right? Because I had been fired, right? But I took them for a tour, and my team was on point. Like they were standing, they were smiling, they were greeting him warmly, and he just, of course, the property always looked great, right? And he just said, "Wow, you run a pretty impressive property." He said, "Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me again." He said before he left, he said, we're going to be making an offer. And I was like, okay, make it good, make the offer good, right? And then he left, right? And so I tell you all of that because that wasn't the day that I became an entrepreneur, but that was the day that my entrepreneurial spirit was born. That day, my entrepreneurial spirit was born because, on that day, I felt like I never, ever want to be in a position again where somebody has that much control over my future, my finances, my fate, right? Where somebody could say to me without cause, just because they don't like you, that they can just say, effective the end of today, not even 2 weeks, not even a month, nothing. Effective the end of the day, you will no longer be working here. And if you're lucky, you'll find another job before your severance runs out. I put myself in that position. Right? Many people are like, I hate Ike, right? I hate Ike. But sometimes we need an Ike in our life to move forward, right? Sometimes we need somebody to come in and make it uncomfortable for us to move forward. Because I truly believe had Ike not been a part of my journey, that I would still be at that hotel. Now, and I made decent money, but it really was crumbs compared to what God had for me. And, God can close a door. My mom used to always say that God can close a door that no man can open, and he can open a door that no man can close. And I felt like I never want to be in that situation ever again. And I eventually would go on and still stayed in the hotel business. I didn't become an entrepreneur that day. But my entrepreneurial spirit was born, and you would have swore I was a consultant, right? I worked for all these other big brands, and I did the job. I showed up. I did my thing. But inside, I was never, I never had my identity wrapped up in them, right? Who they thought I was, who they thought I would be, right? And so I wanted to share that with you today because a lot of people are afraid to lose their jobs, right? They're afraid of what could happen. And I want to tell you that your future could be so much brighter than what you have right now, right? And that you have choices. Even though you might not be able to see them, you might not think you have choices, you really do. So I want to dive into the 5 biggest mistakes that I made so that you don't have to make these same mistakes, okay? And the first mistake that I made was I stayed at that job too long. I stayed at the job longer than I should have. I was ripe on the vine. I was ripe on the vine and ready to rot because I had done the job. I think it was my calling to work for that company, to be at that particular property. I felt like it was a part of my journey. But it was now time because God will put us somewhere for a season. But that doesn't mean that we're there, so supposed to be there forever. Right. I was there because I needed to grow. I needed to mature. I needed to become an even better leader. I need to work with a diverse group of people and a diverse group of clients. I need to be able to take a hotel that's struggling and figure out some things, solve some really high level problems. All of that I learned there. Right. But the thing that I needed to know is that I knew in my gut, there were days when I knew it's time for me to leave, but I was comfortable there. I was comfortable. And I started to say to myself, well, what if I leave? What if it's not so great out there? What if I fail out there? No, I'll just stay here. Right. So I needed to leave there. So don't stay when you know, look for other opportunities. I'm not saying don't work, quit your job altogether, but I'm saying be open to other opportunities. I wouldn't even talk to a recruiter. Headhunters called me all the time and I deleted their messages, right? Don't do that. Be open to opportunities because you don't know what God might have for you. So don't be so ripe on the vine. Like be ready to get into action and move to your next step, right? So that's the mistake number 1, the first mistake. The next mistake that I made was I didn't know how talented I was. So I was being paid according to my beliefs. Right? I didn't know how talented I was. And I was wrapping up my identity into the job. Right? People ask me what I did. I was so proud. It's like, oh, I'm a hotel general manager. I run hotels for a living. They hired me to be a regional trainer. Right? We have one of the best performing properties in the system. I was so proud about that. But I had put all of who I was into the job. Right? My identity was wrapped up into the job. And the job wasn't, it really was, what I learned was it wasn't the job. When that corporate rug was snatched from underneath me, I was like, who am I now without this job? Like, who am I without being able to say I'm a hotel general manager, right? And what I want you to know is you're absolutely brilliant. The reason headhunters, recruiters call you, they're trying to track you down is because you're brilliant, right? Because you've got skills that can be applied to a lot of different places, right? That you have more to offer than you even can imagine you have to offer, right? But I had wrapped up my being into the doing, right? I said that's who I am because what I do, but I'm not what I do, right? I needed to focus more on who I be, the being of who I am, right? And I was born brilliant. God has given me something, and He's given it to you too. That makes room for you, right? You know how God says that your gift will make room for you? Well, your gifts make room for you. And so I didn't realize that I even was carrying that. Like you're carrying something special, something valuable, but you don't even know you got it, right? So that was a second mistake. The third mistake that I made was I didn't know that I could leverage the skills that I had, right? And command a higher salary. I had no idea. When Sean called me back, and he did call me back, he called me back within days, and he made me another offer, right? He made me an offer, and the offer was better than what I had. I'll give you the skinny. So at that job, now this was like 15 years ago. At that job, I was young, and I was making $76,000 a year. My base salary was $76,000 a year. The headhunter called and she left a message saying that the job in Princeton was paying 80, right? It was paying 80. Sean came back and offered me like 92.4, right? And I said to him, Sean, I appreciate the offer, but I know that hotel is in distress. I know that you really need help at that property, right? And I was like, I don't have any children right now, but if I did, my baby would need a pair of shoes, right? So he's like, okay, let me go back and see what I can do. Let me go back and see what I can do. And I could tell you that was a bold move. I don't even know where that came from because I didn't have a job, right? I had just been fired, right? A couple of days prior. But But at that point, I felt like, there's something that is in me that I have that I didn't realize I had, right? And he came back and he offered me more money, right? He offered me more money, and within 12 days, because you got to go through all the background checks, the drug tests, all the things. I was literally sitting in an office in Princeton, New Jersey, running another hotel that was undergoing a $6 million renovation, right? And I remember Mike calling me, and he called me and said, "Is it true?" So this is 12 days before I was fired. And he said to me, "Is it true? Is it true that you already have another job, that you are working in Princeton, New Jersey?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you for and I was sincere. Like, I didn't say it, I wasn't smug about it. I just said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you for the grooming. Thank you for the opportunities. Thank you for allowing me to work for this company for 15 years. But because of that, it has strengthened skills that I have that have made me very marketable." Right, right. And he said, "Don't be surprised if I show up in your lobby one day." And I said, "You're always welcome to come." And you would think he would never come. He absolutely showed up in my lobby one day, right? I think for him, his mind was blown that I would get a job so quickly, right? But let me just tell you, as a woman of faith, God is not mocked, right? And on that day, I knew there was not, that situation was out of my control. There's nothing I could do. They said, "You fired, you fired." When I went back to my desk after to cry, when they told me that, that's what I need to go pack myself up, I wanted to reach out to people that I knew, relationships that I had built over that 15 years. Like, I knew a lot of people. When I went back to my desk and opened up my email, a mass email had gone out from Ike to everybody in the company saying that I would no longer be there, that I had made a decision to move on, that I was pursuing some other venture, right? So I didn't even get a chance. My voice was taken. I didn't even get a chance to tell anybody, you know? So they offered me a new job. I took the new job, but it really wasn't about that. It was really about the transformation for me and understanding that my identity is who God says I am, not who anybody else says I am. And that He has made sure that each one of us has brilliance in us, brilliance that is so marketable that you can take it to other industries, you can take it and use it in your family, with your friends, you can leverage it for new opportunities. Okay. So the next thing I want to tell you, the next lesson learned, the mistake that I had made was that for a long time, I was holding on to crumbs when God had so much more for me. I was holding on to crumbs. Okay. So for me, I had never made a base of $76,000 before. I was like 35 years old, and I had never made 76,000. Today, in today's dollars, maybe that's like 100, right? I don't know. But for me, I thought, "Oh my gosh, nobody's ever going to pay me this much. I better hold on to this. I better hold on to this. Like, please don't fire me." Inside, I think my mindset was like, "Please don't fire me. I will work harder for you. I will do whatever you ask me to do. I won't give you a hard time." And that upsets me just thinking about it right now, that I was like groveling and begging for somebody who was my boss not to fire me, holding on to $76,000. Let me just tell you what God did. It wasn't even 12 months later, within the year, between bonuses that the other property gave, like they were, you would have thought they had one of those money guns. They were like, "Ange, if you could change this, we give you 10,000. If you can change this, we give you another 5,000. If you could do this," like this. And I was collecting 6 months severance from that job that fired me. Okay. I made almost double. My income within 12 months was $146,000. I made almost double. I was over here holding on to crumbs when God had something so much better for me. So much better for me. And I see that in my clients every day. They don't see themselves. They don't see how amazing they are. Some people call it talent. Some people call it your genius. I call it your brilliance, right? And everybody has it. Scripture says to each of us a gift is given, and we're to use that to serve each other, right? So you have that. Don't make the mistake of not knowing who you be, right? It's not about what you do. It's really about who you be, right? And how you show up in the world. And that was a lesson. That was one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, because I didn't know that. I was always looking to someone else, a boss, to tell me who I be, right? What my worth is based on what I do, right? And the fifth thing that I want to tell you is I didn't realize that my gifts would make room for me. And no matter where I go, no matter what I do, no matter what happens around me, things that happen, because things are going to happen to you that are out of your control, right? You might work for an Ike, right? One day, right? Or something might happen that's out of your control. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because what I know that comes from the inside, that's strong and forceful and gives me stability and lets me stand tall, is knowing that I'm brilliant. And no matter where I go or what I do, I take my brilliance with me. Right. And so you can fire me if you want. You can do whatever you want to do. But I know who I be. I know who I am and whose I am. And I know that what he's given me, right? And that brilliance was what Sean was seeking. You know, when he pulled up to the hotel, like, let me see what you're doing over here, right? And he was like, okay, I see it. You know, and even if people don't like you, they like your gift. Your gift will make room for you. And it'll put you, scripture says, it'll put you before a great men, you know, your gift. And my gift has taken me all around the world. It's putting me in opportunities where I was in front of, I was teaching the mayor in Costa Rica of one of the cities in Costa Rica, right? My gift will take me there, and your gift will take you there too. So no matter what happens, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, I want you to know that you are absolutely brilliant. And a lot of times as a Black woman, you're who you are and what you do is undervalued, right? It's not, sometimes you're underpaid for what you do. Sometimes they hire you to train the person that's going to be your boss, right? How ridiculous is that, right? But it happens to us. It happens to us. So I want you to know without a doubt who you are, and not have that wrapped up into the job, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, you work in corporate America, whatever it is, no matter where you go or what you do, you take your brilliance with you. So I hope that this has served you. And I hope that the lessons that I learned, you don't have to learn them, right? I hope that those lessons are not lessons that you have to learn, right? I hope that that will save you from having to, live the lessons that I've had to live, right? Because you are absolutely brilliant. You have a lot to offer. And I want to leave you with this. There's a picture. Let me see if I can pull it up here too. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up here. If I can show you guys this, I will. Let's see here. Hang on one second here. There is a picture of a woman that I had. It used to be in my living room when I lived in New Jersey. And it was, let me see if I can pull it up here and show it to you on the screen. I might not be able to do it, but you'll know some of you will already know which one I'm talking about. But anyway, there's a picture of a woman who is blindfolded and she's about to step off a cliff, right? She's blindfolded. There's a storm brewing behind her, and there is sunlight and a bright horizon before her. But she's blindfolded and she's about to step off a cliff. And what she can't see is this outstretched hand that's perfectly positioned to catch her, right? And so I love that. The name of that photograph, and you can Google it, it's a woman in a white dress and she's about to step off this cliff. The name of the picture is called Stepping Out on Faith. It's called Stepping Out on Faith. And sometimes, even if you don't believe in yourself wholehearted, borrow my belief in you. Know that God's got you. Like, he's not going to let his kids get, mistreated, right? In the moment, I felt like, oh my gosh, how cruel, but God had it all figured out all along. but know that he's got you. Even if you're blindfolded, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what's going to happen next. He's got you. He's got your back, right? And with that, I want to tell you, I want you to go out there. I want you to be bold. Be bold in knowing who you are, knowing who you be, right? Knowing that you carry something amazing inside of you at any level. And I don't care what it is. You have something that can serve humanity well, right? So be bold in knowing that. I want you to be brave and courageous and go for the things that mean the most to you, even though it feels scary. I think it was Joseph Campbell that said, "The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek." The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. So be brave. And finally, I want you to go out there. For those of you who know me, you know what I'm going to say. I want you to be brilliant because you absolutely are. Be bold, be brave, be brilliant. Until next time, take care. I hope this has served you. Love you guys. Take care and bye for now.